These are beautiful ways to authentically be able to plant these seeds to welcome the idea to your patient of getting glasses at your office. Pre-testers and techs are seen as the nurses of the optical industry because they triage patients, they get them started, they run them through tests, hear their health issues and all their optical woes. And patients have a special level of trust during their time with the technician. Now I'm going to talk directly to you technicians. I'm going to talk to you now. In the pre-testing portion of the exam, this is your time to shine. And I can tell you of countless circumstances where offices have techs who are so very kind and very warm and make the patient feel very comfortable. And this is great, but there's often a vital part that's being missed. Now listen, my tech friends, patients hear and listen to you. This gives you an extraordinary amount of influence that you are not utilizing. So the way that you reach that next level is to refine the conversations that you're having while the patients are spending time with you. When refining your conversations, you're able to plant very important seeds that ultimately influence the patient's perception for the rest of the exam and even after the exam when it comes to the discussion of eyewear. You can influence that. Here's where it is vital to know what eyewear, if any, the patient has been prescribed before. Then you also need to know the solutions that your lenses in your office can solve for your patient and be able to offer these as a solution for the problems that the patient is having. To really understand how the glasses work that are offered in your office and how the options that are offered in your office will benefit the patient with their issue will be pivotal for you being confident in making recommendations. So when these solutions are coming from you as the tech or pre-tester, these are beautiful ways to authentically be able to plant these seeds to welcome the idea to your patient of getting glasses at your office. Let's talk a bit about the questions that we ask our patients and how we can influence their opinion about eyewear. First, if you are not already, you need to be asking your patient specific questions beyond, "Tell me, Mary, what brings you in today?" Now, of course, you will hear the response to this question, and likely it'll be, "Oh, I'm just here for my exam." This is not a chief complaint. But you also get the patient who goes, "Oh my gosh, let me tell you, la 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 la." You want to also ask specific functionality questions with both of these responses. These will get your patients reflecting on how their eyes are feeling, specifically with things that you guys know that you have solutions for. In the article, I mentioned following the functionality questions. So let's review them along with recommendations and tidbits that you can be planting seeds for. Now these questions are listed here on the screen. I'm not going to read through them right now because we're going to go over them one by one here in just a moment. I encourage you to utilize these questions as a point of conversation with your patient when you're asking them. When they get to a question that really hits home, you will notice them pondering on it more, elaborating a bit more than they do with the other questions. So when you have the question that really hits home, make note, mental note of this question. When you finish out all of your questions, reference their hit home comment and say, "Okay, tell me more," or "Is this new?" or "Is this only on certain days?" Right? To get a little bit more, discover a little bit more. What you are doing is getting a few more details to tie their experiences together and utilize your expertise to reassure them that they have come to the right place and that you folks will take great care of them. So let's go over what these questions reveal when you get the whole picture put together. Now tell me, what changes have you noticed when you go to read your phone or to spend some time on your phone? What changes are you noticing with your eyes? This question opens up a whole slew of opportunities. Sometimes they will start talking about fatigue, how they get off their phone and their eyes are so tired, or how they notice it's much harder to see after a long period of time droning on their phone. And then they'll also say, make some comments about evenings when they get home, how it's harder. So talk with your opticians in your office and ask them what you guys offer for blue light protection and what that looks like as far as having this exposure to unnatural blue light from our devices. Your patient might also need some correction for the near, or at least some assistance to make them not strain. They could be approaching the presbyopic stage of their life, and seeing up close becomes difficult. And if your patient is wearing eyewear without anti-reflective treatment, those lenses are allowing the glare to wreak havoc on the clarity of those lenses. So when their poor eyes have to look through all that glare, we must strain to see through that glare. And what do phones cause on your lenses? They cause glare. So this could be a great solution for your patient. Now, how often do you notice that your eyes feel dry? Dry eyes can be caused from medications they're on, environmental factors that they're exposed to, long periods spent in front of a computer screen or a phone, because the reality is that we blink less when we're looking at devices. So nobody does this, everyone does this. Okay, tell me about your vision when you're driving at night. Now, night driving can be more difficult for patients as they age. Their lens begins to harden and become opaque, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you are likely not a Spexy member. Because at Spexy, we have courses on foundational training to understand all of these common issues. Make sure you check it out and give yourself a leg up. You need to know all this stuff. Now, your patient might also have spent a lot of time in front of a screen, and fatigued eyes also have issues with nighttime driving. Okay, do you notice that it's harder to read items later in the day than it is earlier in the day with like fresh eyes? When they talk about their dependence on always having to carry around readers, or the dark lights in the restaurant and that they need a light to read the menu, you've seen them. They exist. This is presbyopia, where the lens in their eye is hardening, making it more difficult for them to focus on near objects and making it necessary to have more light to see clearly. So this can be remedied through multifocal lenses and multifocal contact lenses, or monofit contact lenses. So tell me, how many hours a day are you spending in front of digital screens? This includes computers, your phone, TVs, any digital screen. If you have made it through all of the other questions, and there is not yet a question that is hitting home with this particular patient, you want to dig in on this question. That's why it's your last one. No matter what number they give you, I want you to dig. I want you to say, let's break it down. Computer, tell me how many hours you spend in front of the computer on a typical day. If you were to total up your total phone hours, how many hours do you think that would be? How many hours do you think for TV screens? Make sure and note their responses for the doctor. Only dive into the hours question, again, if there were no other questions that hit home for the patient. The reason why is that in the breakdown alone, even if they have no other complaints, you are making them aware of how much time they spend in front of screens. So they might not have complaints at all, and you can get them thinking. Now, later during the exam, the doctor, finding some accommodation issues or having a minor prescription that'll offer them clarity to give them the ability really to relax their eyes, will make the doctor's prescribed recommendation from the chair. When the doctor brings that up, the patient will already have thought about, gosh, I am really dependent upon screens. And the doctor prescribing eyewear to remedy that the patient, the problem that the patient is having, will now fall on welcoming ears, rather than the patient feeling blindsided thinking, I don't need glasses. This doctor just prescribed me something that I don't even need. You're already planting that seed and helping that patient to become more open to the idea that, gosh, I'm on screens all the time. And we weren't made for that. We were meant to be hunters and gatherers. We weren't meant to be like this. That's not what we're meant to be, yet that's how we spend our time. Okay, so that's for the patient that has no really complaints and didn't have really hit home questions. Now, let's run over a few scenarios. Let's say you have a patient, Sarah, who's a 20-year-old college student who feels like her brain is melting between classes and college life. And she now noticed that her eyes are getting more tired from being on her phone before she even gets tired. Her eyes are fatigued and she's having trouble focusing on homework as it gets later in the night. You would say, "Thank you so much for that info, Sarah. I've noted all of those details in your chart, and I am glad that you're telling me these things because we have been able to offer a ton of relief for patients just like you." So doctor will go ahead and dial in the prescription, and the opticians will get you all set. And I'm really excited because we have this anti-fatigue lens, and what it does is it makes it so when you are looking down to read, whether you're reading a book or homework or your phone, there is a part of the lens that allows for your eyes to relax while reading or looking at your phone. Pretty cool, right? People are saying it's a total game changer. So let's get you back to see the doctor, and we'll get you taken care of. Now let's talk about our patient Lisa. She's a 45-year-old woman who's dreading the idea of progressives, as she has informed you of this with the harder to read later in the day scenario question that you hit home and asked her to tell you more. She elaborated on how last year she saw the same thing happen to her friend, where her friend couldn't read menus anymore, and her friend tried progressives and just couldn't get used to them, and now they sit in a case, and her friend has 4 pairs of Costco readers that she's wearing all the time, and she doesn't want to be the lady with the readers everywhere like her friend. Okay, who can't wear her regular progressives. This is your moment. You step right up to the plate and you reassure her of this. You say, "Lisa, I hear you. No one wants to be the crazy readers lady, but our opticians here, I'm going to tell you right now, are so great, and they will make sure that you are successful in your progressives. Being able to see distance and then to see near without having reader headbands flopping around everywhere, it really is life-changing, and you will absolutely love it. So much so that I will not be surprised when I see your crazy reader friend here in this very chair soon, telling me about how her friend got the best progressives just a few weeks ago. And boom, just like that, you stepped up to the plate and you hit a home run, my friend. Let's do one more. How about your patient Jim, who is a 50-year-old progressive wearer, who did not get anti-reflective treatment on his last set of lenses, and you mentioned to him while cleaning up his glasses after reading them on the auto lensometer a little moment ago. After the question though, you hear that it's getting harder and harder for him to drive at night to feel like he can really see clearly. This is what you say to Jim. "Hey Jim, thank you for answering all of those questions. Now I want to go back to your thoughts on nighttime driving. Doctor will be able to dial in a very nice and crisp prescription for you back in the exam room today. And I also want to highlight that glare treatment that I was talking about a little earlier, that treatment is going to offer you so much relief with night driving too. And if you think about the glare that you're having to look through when those headlights hit your lenses, not having that treatment on your lenses is a real struggle. I say all this to let you know it's not in your head. You've come to the right place, and we are going to get you back on track and seeing so clearly today. So I'm really excited to get you back to see the doctor. Let's go. Tex, I want to remind you that you have the patient's undivided attention and that they are listening to you boss them around from one instrument to the other. If you are one of our Spexy members, make sure to play the Stop the Walkout series. And if you're not, check it out because your office should be. Thank you for reading my article and review of Optometric Business. I will see you in part 3 for the doctors. Until then, remember, be Spexy.